Okay, then. Good evening, everybody. My name is Dr. Michelle Kagoto, and I would like, if you can hear me, I'd like you to confirm in the chat section. Tell me if my audio is okay so that you can proceed. Okay, got everyone confirmation that we are good to go. So, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you had a lovely Valentine's Day or you have plans on having a lovely Valentine's evening. My name is Dr. Michelle Kagotho, and I am a medical officer. It's my absolute honor to welcome you to our routine um, routine Tuesday webinar series for healthcare workers. So today's webinar. Ooh, oh yeah, sorry for that. Yes. Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Michelle Kagotho, and I am a medical officer. And it is my absolute honor to welcome you to today's webinar. This topic is nutrition and wellness. I will be today's moderator, and our speaker today is Josephine Buthi, who is a clinical nutrition stroke dietitian at the Current Hospital with 11 years experience helping persons of all ages with nutrition and health issues reach and maintain health goals. She also helps in contributing to reduce mobility and prevention of lifestyle diseases. So without wasting further time, I would like to welcome Josephine to begin the webinar.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Michelle, for that introduction. As you've heard, I'm Josephine Buthi, and welcome to this presentation. I'm going to talk about nutrition and wellness. And since this is, okay, just a bit. Okay, so since this is a healthcare worker group, mostly doctors, I'm not going to go into the scientific terms or what nutrition means. I'm just going to to just go straight to what nutrition is and the link between nutrition and wellness. And I'll start by my favorite quote or favorite verse, and that is 1 Corinthians 10:31. So whatever you eat and drink, do whatever you do, do it for the glory of God. If you're a Christian, you know our bodies are the temple of the Holy Spirit. So we need to take care of our bodies. If we need to live longer, if we need to prevent ourselves from NCDs and even from stress and depression, and to reduce those risks. So what are the research findings that I came across Africa? Unfortunately, I didn't come across one for Kenya, but we can look at Ghana. In a study done, it was a retrospective study that was done in one facility in Ghana by Jacob Setorgo. And it said that among the healthcare workers, 31.1% of them were underweight, 47.5% were normal weight, and 39.4% were overweight and obese. And most of them would consume 4 or more times in a week carbonated beverages, baked foods, and fried foods. And when you look at the percentages that most of them actually skipped breakfast. And this is usually the trend among not only the doctors, but in general, the healthcare workers. Most of us actually skip breakfast, maybe because you didn't have a good night's sleep, so you want to catch up sleep in the morning. So 76.9% was skipping breakfast. That also contributed to 52.8% skipped lunch and 58.4% skipped supper, respectively. And that's for Ghana. So let's compare that among 109 healthcare workers or practitioners in South Africa, in a hospital in South Africa. As you see, in Ghana, it was 76.9% of the population, but in South Africa, it was reduced. That was 51%. Compared to lunch, 20% of them skipped lunch and only 11% skipped dinner. 74% of the population ate mainly dairy foods. Meat was 91%. Sweet foods, 60%. Sugar, carbonated beverages, 55%. Coffee, of course, we have to stay awake for longer hours. We have also to read. So the users were 64% of the 109. And alcohol, you can imagine 65%. Among healthcare practitioners. So 77% rarely ate fruits. And this is also a trend I can actually even see in my place of work. Rarely do we eat fruits daily or vegetables. 73% of their meals actually lacked vegetables. 68% rarely drank water. So that means most of us are replacing water for carbonated beverages, for tea, but mainly for coffee, as a stimulant for us actually to even do longer shifts. And then 50% of the participants frequently ate unhealthy snacks. And of course, what I usually say, comfort foods or ready to go snacks, chapatis, mandazis. Rarely people eat even the nuts as snacks. 36% ate salty foods, 37% ate fast foods, 38% fatty foods, and the percentages keep on increasing, with lots of sugar being at 47%. So let's come home. So what are the current, maybe before the presentation, you could have asked yourself, what are some of the common feeding habits that I do? Or what are some of the practices that I perform on a daily basis, or what is my current lifestyle? So this is what I compiled based on some of the people I asked in terms of the whole hospital. So we mainly get 5 to 6 hours of sleep. Actually, even less than that if you're doing 24-hour shift or even 36-hour shift. Most of us are consuming, there's an increase of consumption of alcohol and tobacco among healthcare professionals, and especially among the doctors. We are replacing water with carbonated drinks. When you look at that food person over there, he's actually drowning in alcohol. And you can see he's trying to reach out the fruits, the vegetables, but he's actually preferring more of the unhealthy foods. And we're going to talk about that. We are also skipping meals, especially breakfast is the mostly skipped meal. And the first meal of the day is actually a snack around tea time. That is between 10 to 12 p.m., most of them. And then increased portions of carbohydrates and proteins, increased portion sizes of carbohydrates and proteins, and actually rarely are we doing the vegetables. And if we are doing the vegetables, we are actually replacing it maybe with grated carrots, courgettes, but rarely are we consuming dark green leafy vegetables. Maybe the time we are using to, maybe the time that we are going to the market actually to buy these vegetables, we don't have enough time during the course of the week. And that is also what is contributing to the less consumption of vegetables. We are also doing more of convenient foods. These are foods that you can eat on the go. When you're on your desk, as you're doing that report, when you have 15 minutes to the next client, you find that even our breaks are shortening as per the day. Yeah? So we are mainly doing that. Mainly it's chapati. In the evening, we are doing chips and the like, and burgers. So we are also eliminating foods, that is carbohydrates, fruits, and mainly vegetable. And this brings me to what are the root causes? All this, the current habits, what are the root causes? Number one, the nutrition knowledge gaps. Yes, we did a unit back in school, but you find that most of us, or most of you did more of the basic of nutrition. And that is why maybe that knowledge gap, there's a widening lack of or what you call inadequate nutrition information. And then, and I will put this across, the right nutrition information. Most of us also have come to realize we are also doing fad diets. And you see, fad diet is any diet that will actually promise you a quick fix. And mostly it's due to weight gain. You see, as you start working over the years, you start adding that weight. And that is why most of us are in the overweight and obese region. And this fad diet will also tell you either to miss a food group, and mainly carbohydrates and fruits, because they tell you that it has more sugar, more calories. And then also the absence of physical activity. So you're replacing elimination of a major food group so that you can actually lose weight faster, rapid weight loss. And these are these fad diets, they have inconsistent scientific evidence. And because of ethical reasons, there is no proper scientific evidence, scientific research that has been done on the fad diet, because you find that, yes, you're going to be told to eliminate one of the macronutrient, and that is the carbohydrate. But by the end of the day, yes, you will lose weight, but you will start having what we call hidden hunger or micronutrient deficiency. And this also will impact on your mental health. And then also, of course, the fad diet will aggravate you or increase your risk factors for NCDs. And then, of course, the fad diet, you cannot be able to maintain them. And then also it promotes only short-term changes. And like I've said, it promotes the hidden hunger. They're usually nutritionally inadequate. And if you do them for longer, and that means more than 2 weeks, you find that, number one, you'll start having mood swings. And then also you'll start having what we call muscle wasting. Of course, we all know what that is. And because of this, one of the root causes of us doing the poor unhealthy habits is because of convenience. It's because of convenience. We lack enough time to shop. We lack enough time actually even to cook a proper meal. We lack also enough time to actually make sound nutrition sound nutrition decisions. And I'm going to tell you how, at least some few tips on how you can move at least from what you're currently doing. If you're currently on a healthy lifestyle in terms of nutrition, in terms of all-round health and exercises, well and good, but you need also to do it consistently and maintain it for life. So what is the goal of healthy eating? According to WHO, the goal of healthy eating will be to protect you against malnutrition. And many people actually think malnutrition is wasting, but also in terms of micronutrient deficiency in all forms. And this, when you eat healthy, it's supposed to prevent you from the NCDs. So now, when you form a balance of diet quality, and this is, when you look at this wheel, you find that if you choose a healthy diet, number one, it will affect your social lifestyle, it will affect your intellectual, and this is where the brain comes in. And you will find that when you're taking too much sugar or refined carbohydrates, what it does, it actually promotes inflammation of the general brain and body, and that puts you at risk of anxiety, depression, mood disorders. Of course, today you're happy. Within a short time, you're actually, you don't get enough nutrients. So you tend also to have mood issues. It also affects your spiritual side, vocational side, because also if, let's say, for example, you're stressed, that means you're going to go on sick of more. Physically, you'll either end up having a less weight or actually more obese. And when you have poor diet, it will put you at risk of overweight and obesity. That means when you're doing more of fad diets, when you're doing more of takeout, more of convenience food, of course, you'll have to spend more financially. Actually, a healthy meal will cost you less than unhealthy snacks and unhealthy meals. And then also it will affect you emotionally, that one we've talked about, and environmentally, yeah? So what is the relationship between diet and mental health? This is what I want you to know. It will give, when you have a meal that is deficient in nutrients, or you're not getting enough energy or enough nutrients, that means it puts you at risk of micronutrient deficiency. And most of us, and especially the B complex, because you've eliminated carbohydrates because of the fad diet, it will also put you at risk of folic, it will also put you at risk of folic acid, deficiencies of folic acid, iron, zinc, and all this will actually put you at risk of anxiety, mood disorders. And that is why even when you find people who are depressed, these are some of the nutrients you'll actually look to. If you're maybe deficient in magnesium, you supplement. If you're deficient in selenium or calcium or zinc, we give you a holistic micronutrient. And that one actually helps within 2 to 3 weeks. It actually helps the client. And then also when you have a healthy diet, we've said that it prevents against mood disorders, memory loss, the ability to decision making. Because again, when you're on a poor diet, you're not able, actually, it slows down your decision making. And then also it can aggravate also stress and depression. And of course, you'll feel a bit fatigued, because you find that whenever you're stressed, you're either going to eat too much. And when you eat too much, you start becoming sluggish because of the increased weight gain, or you can eat too little, and that will also lead to exhaustion and loss of weight. And then also insomnia. Insomnia. It's one of the things that most of us actually suffer from. By the time you're doing the 3rd day of your shift, you're actually tired and you're insomniac, to most of us, not all of us, but most of us. And then also, if you don't treat also your depression, and you don't also treat your anxiety, and a study was done that of 2 of 3 of healthcare workers, one of them is suffering from a form of anxiety. And that is what is actually pushing us into depression. And that is the sad fact of it all. So like I said, it's not only nutrition that we are going to focus on. Whenever you're saying health, you're not only going to focus on nutrition, good nutrition, but also you're supposed to focus on exercise. I know there's the issue about time, but I usually say, as long as you have a bedroom, and as long as you have space between besides your bed, you can actually wear comfortable shoes, ideally sport shoes, and you can walk on the spot at least for about 20 to 40 minutes, ideally 1 hour if you can. But if you're time constrained, you can target 40 to 1 hour. And that means it will help you actually sleep better. It will improve your metabolism. You will gain strength and endurance, and all this are going to be to make you happier. And you see, a happier doctor is a happier client. And that is true. And then also it will prevent you from cardiovascular health issues. And I think this is the fact that we usually forget. The fact that we are healthcare providers, it does not exempt us from getting NCDs. And I think it's an assumption, or we don't really sit down and take our health into consideration. And that is why we are using so much time to treat other people. And that is why you find that we are starting to get a buildup of fatigue, a buildup of issues. And you see, when you're fatigued, you're easily provoked, and your mood, and also your mood swings, they skyrocket. So we need also to look at ourselves holistically. So what are the tips? What are some of the things that can actually help you? Number one, don't skip breakfast. We keep on saying eat breakfast like a king, but this is what I will say. It's better you spare 15 minutes in the morning and have a proper meal. For me, I usually say, if you can be able to just warm up that dinner in the morning and eat it up, the leftovers dinner in the morning and eat it up, you'll actually see a very huge difference in the week to come. Actually, it takes about 2 days to see the difference. So the first thing, don't skip breakfast. Because if you skip breakfast, that means you started the day with low energy levels. And you see, most of our clients are coming in the morning. So when your shift starts busy, it means the first thing that you're going to eat for that day will be around 12, a proper one. So do not skip breakfast. Just have a balanced meal in the breakfast. And if you cannot eat food, at least take a balanced breakfast. For example, you can take tubers, you can take maybe a protein, for example, an egg, and you can take a fruit or vegetables. And for me, ideally, just have a meal. Consume carbohydrates with main meals only. That means just restrict your carbohydrate intake for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So when it comes to tea time, just don't do carbohydrate, because that means when you do carbohydrates during snack time, it means also you're doing what we call energy loading or carbohydrate loading, of which by the end of the day, if you're not burning out that extra energy that you're bringing inside your body, then that means you stand at risk of actually weight gain. So consume carbohydrates strictly as breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Then in between your meals, just have a fruit. Let your fruit be what we call a go snack, other than taking maybe chapati, mandazi, and samosas, and they're called what, bajias. So you can do your fruits. And then also be keen on portion sizes. We keep on saying as a rule of thumb, provided you're an adult and you're not wasted or something, at least for us, most of us are on the index of good health in terms of weight. I'm saying just in terms of weight. So you need to ensure that adage, you keep on saying that plate rule, half of your plate should be vegetable. It's very, very true, because you see vegetables come packed with fiber. So that means it will give you early satiety, and that means you're going to take carbohydrates, less carbohydrates. So just make sure that half of your plate is vegetables, and don't just have a variety of vegetables within the course of the week. So you can do carrots, you can do broccoli, you can do courgettes, you can do peas. Yes, just have a variety so that it's interesting to take. And for me, I usually say adding that carrots, greater carrots in vegetables just make the meal more sweeter to consume, and more brighter foods make you also make you happier, and you're looking forward to actually taking that meal. The other thing, I've talked about eating fruits as daily as your snacks, and then choose more of whole grain. For example, if you avoid the non-refined carbohydrates, if you can, just avoid them. If you can't avoid them, then you have to make sure that a quarter of that plate, or what we call one serving, you just take between 1 to 2 servings strictly. But you find that these carbohydrates, and they're the non-refined carbohydrate, and nowadays rice is the staple carbohydrate. You find that half of our plate is just taken over by carbohydrates. Just know, if your carbohydrates are more than quarter of your plate, you're going to add weight by the end of 2 to 3 months. And then just do whole grain or tubers. We have the sweet potatoes, we have the seeds, the quinoa. They're more filling. And then also we have you can even do potatoes for breakfast. You can bake them and eat them. Just have a variety of the non-refined carbohydrates. Also, one of the other areas we don't do, we rarely take nuts and we rarely take seeds. And you see the seeds and the nuts come packed with omega oils, but mainly the seeds come packed with the micronutrients. Remember, by the end of the day, most of us are taking less meals. So that means by the end of the day, we are getting micronutrient deficiency, and we don't realize it. So seeds come packed, and especially with zinc, with selenium, to also help in our reproductive system. So you can do that. And then also selenium in seeds and in nuts are very good, and especially when it comes to sugar control or insulin, for the body to make the insulin. Then the other thing, you need to cut down on fast foods. If let's say, for example, if you do takeouts, I usually advise do takeouts as opposed to sitting down in a restaurant and eating those junk food, because that means you'll order one, then you'll order a soft drink, you'll order another unhealthy thing. So what I usually say is that just do takeout, and if you're with somebody, you can actually split the fast foods, and you can do more of the vegetables, or you do more of salads. You can order for more salads. And then also you need to cut down on high fats. You need to cut down, because these junk foods are usually refined, of course. They are also high in fats, high in sodium. So increasing on your cholesterol level. And this is a point whereby I will ask you guys, maybe you can answer this question for yourself. When was the last time you did a health checkup? Do you know your cholesterol levels? Do you know even your weight? Do you know your current BMI? So those are the things that you need to be asking yourself. Then you need to stop substituting water with sugary drinks. So this is what I usually say: every other 2 hours, take water. And if you can, for us, we spend so much time either as we're doing ward rounds or at the office. What you need to do, you need just to buy a water bottle, because sometimes what you can't see, you will not take. So I'll give you an example of what I usually do. I'm ever with a water bottle, because that means if I don't see water, I will not take water. So the more you take water, the more actually you're well hydrated. And you see, our brain is tuned in a way that if you're thirsty, your body actually converts it to hunger. So you'll feel more hunger than thirst. And that means you get to take sodas, you get to take soft drinks, you get to take packaged juices. So for me, I will just say, just do that water. If you don't like the taste of that water, you can add in maybe a lemon cut, you can add in maybe an orange inside, or you can just squeeze a few drops of those of orange or lemon, so that it can make that water more tastier, so that you can be able to eat more. The other thing is avoid resalting. Let's say, for example, maybe you're eating out, your food doesn't have enough salt. I will prefer you do lemon. Just use lemon and just squeeze that lemon over your food. The good thing is lemon is packed with vitamin C, so you get also to boost your immunity, but also you get also to avoid the salt. Hydrate more, that one I've said. And then also be keen on nutrition label. Every product that you buy in the supermarket comes with labeling. So let us have a habit of always looking at our nutrition labels. When that bread they've said it is brown bread. Remember, brown and whole bread are totally two different things. The same way we have yellow bread, we have brown bread. So brown bread is color. So you need to, the packaging for bread, if you need to have like whole wheat bread, it needs to be written there, whole wheat bread. If it is whole bread, it's whole bread. That means the grain is not, it's not processed. So the whole, you get to have the benefit of the whole fiber in that mix. So we go to the food pyramid. The food pyramid is what guides us in what we need to eat less and what we need to eat more. When we start at the base of the pyramid, these are the foods that you need to eat more. For example, the vegetables and fruits are 5 to 7 servings. A serving of a vegetable is half a 250 ml cup. For example, one serving of vegetable is a 125 ml cup. So when you say 5 to 7 servings, and a fruit, let's say, for example, an apple, it's 1 serving. So when it says 5 to 7 servings, it means every time that you sit down to eat, maybe let's say, for example, a meal, you need to make sure that 2 serving spoons are of vegetables, not 1 tablespoon, 2 serving spoons are for vegetables. And that is 2 or more. You can even do 3. We usually advise 3 serving spoons. And then we go to avoid the packaged, avoid the packaged, the fruit juices that come in a packet form, because those ones are processed. Just have a habit of taking the whole fruit so that you can get the benefit of fiber. Then the other thing that you should also take, you take more because they're more of staple foods, these are wholemeal cereals, bread, potatoes, and pasta and rice. And this is what I will tell you. If you're struggling to lose weight, do away with wheat products, because wheat activates the feel-good hormone. And that is why when you're taking bread, when you're taking chapati, when you're taking mandazi, you feel nice. So for you to actually curb that craving, you need to actually stop taking bread, anything that has wheat, anything that has barley. And that means also alcohol. You need to actually cut down. And if you can be able to avoid, the better. So that in terms of the carbohydrates, you need to take 3 to 5 servings. The same way I've said, a half a cup, or what we call the 125 ml cup, is what we refer to as 1 serving. For bread, 1 serving is 1 slice of bread. Then we go to the milk, yogurt, and cheese. Most of us rarely take the milk products, but for me, I usually say yes, other foods have calcium, but yogurt comes packed with calcium. I will be very keen on cheese. Cheese actually contain what we call saturated fats, so adding up to your LDL levels. So I'll come slow with them. If we can be able to avoid, the better. But for yogurt, take yogurt. And I mean the small, the 150 ml. Let's not be doing the large quantities of things. If you're craving, for the other thing is, if you're craving cake, kindly don't buy the big cake. Just buy the small cake. I think they usually the small cuts, so that you can curb also your cravings. Now we go to the proteins. You need 2 servings a day, 2 servings a day. But what we are doing currently, we are taking more proteins than ever. If it's egg, you find that there are people who take eggs on a daily basis. I know 1 egg gives you about 8 grams, which comes also packed with vitamin B12. But what we usually say, if you're an adult, 3 whole eggs per week is okay. But you can even do the white, the egg whites, you can do 2 per day. You can do 1 per day, but if your albumin levels are low, you can do 2 per day. But I usually say for whole eggs, you need to do 3 eggs per week. And then also, let's substitute also our red meat with white meat. And white meat basically are strictly the birds and the fishes. And I will add in and say fish from the freshwater bodies because of the sodium content. Where red meat is any 4-legged animal, because as we all know, red meat come packed with the cholesterol level, saturated fats, high uric acid, and high sodium. So restrict your red meat intake to 2 meals per week, not 2 days per week, that morning breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but twice a week. So the rest of the time you can actually take the legumes, the plant protein, that is the lentils, the beans, the green grams, and all that. They're also packed, and especially lentils are usually packed with protein and also packed with iron. As we narrow up the pyramid, you find that the fats, if you're an adult, kindly stay away bread spread, because bread spreads were designed for children, not adults, simply because children need more energy than you and they cannot be able to eat much. And that is why we add a little bit of oil either in their porridge or maybe a bread spread in their bread. But as an adult, if you can be able to stay away from peanut butter, all those bread spreads, the better, even honey. Yeah. Then we go now to the top of the pyramid. These are the people these are the food items that you're not supposed to eat on an everyday. And that is foods that are high in salt, sugar, and fat. So where is your Coca-Cola? Where is your alcohol? At the top of the pyramid. And if you need to cut back on sugar, kindly don't replace your table sugar with honey, because I've seen when you tell people honey is much more preferred, they tend to do more of honey. And ideally, actually 1 teaspoon of honey is equivalent to 2 teaspoons of table sugar. Why? Because honey is more liquid, so it occupies less space, but the caloric content is high. So you need to consider that. So let's go to calories. Calories basically is a form of energy. And you need to realize that a gram of carbohydrates will give you 4 kilocalories. A gram of protein will give you 4 kilocalories. A gram of alcohol will give you 4 kilocalories. But a gram of fat will give you 9 kilocalories. So if you want the perfect fit for you to add weight, that one will be potatoes that are dipped in oil. That one is chips. And then you resalt, and then you do a soft drink. So of course, when that happens, of course, you're going to increase in weight. So you need also to be very keen on how much of everything is supposed to give you. And this is what I will say. Every person, every individual, we usually calculate the amount of calories you need per day, depending on a number of factors. Yes, I know, but we usually say 2,000 kilocalories for adults, but you find that even when it comes to your level of exercises, your age, do you have any other ailments or diseases? So every diet is individualized. So there is no blanket diet for anyone. And that is why we usually say, if you're not sure, kindly just visit your nutritionist. Yes, so I'll leave it at that. And then also sleep. I don't know how we are going to move from 5 hours to 7 hours, but this is what I'll tell you. Your brain needs to rejuvenate. Your brain also needs to rest. And that's why we usually say 7 to 8 hours. You may not be able to actually realize the effect of sleeping less hours, but with time, this is one of the causes of fatigue. Because when you sleep less, that means your body does not able to rejuvenate well. So that means you'll have mood swings, you'll eat more, because again, when you don't rest well, you tend to eat more. And then also we need to move. I know when you're doing ward rounds, as you're seeing our clients, we tend to move, but you need to do 10,000 steps. For us, we usually say at least 120 minutes within the course of the week, and it can be distributed within the course of the week. Also, the other thing is you need to have screen-free hobbies. That means you need to take a break from anything that is technological. So that means if, let's say, for example, per day, give yourself 1 hour, just sit back, either maybe spend time with your family, maybe read something, maybe cook. You can always take up a hobby that does not require screen time. Wellness checkup, at least in a year. Even if you don't do that big package of wellness checkup, you can do mini checkups throughout the course of the year. So even as we are telling our own clients, they need to have a checkup. Also us, we also need to have a checkup, because whenever you identify things early, you're able to fix them. And you see, nutrition was meant as a it was meant as a preventive tool and not a management tool. The other thing, we need to cut back on smoking and alcohol. I think we all know we all know the effects of these two. It's only that we need to implement on ourselves. Let's not wait until it is too late, when we've had either COPDs, when we have either maybe liver issues, for us to actually stop these two. So we need to cut back on that. For me, I usually say 0 is the baseline, not 1 or 2, but 0. Know your numbers. For men, for overweight, it's 25 to 29.9. We all know this. Normal BMI is 18.6 to 24.9. What I will actually ask you is, do you know your numbers? Do you know your waist circumference? For men, are we above 40 inches? For women, are we above 35 inches? So we need to know these numbers so that we can see, are we posing ourselves at risk of obesity and other NCDs? Good. So thank you. I hope the presentation was helpful.
Yes, thank you very much, Josephine, for that enlightening presentation. We'll quickly move to the Q&A session. We have a couple of questions, and I'm just going to summarize a few, and then I'm going to read one after the other for you to respond, Josephine.
Okay.
All right. So the first question is from an anonymous attendee. They're asking, are there any absolute contraindications in nutrition?
Are
there any absolute contraindications in nutrition?
Contraindications, contraindications in nutrition. It's more of an ambiguous question. I would have wished for them to be more direct, but this is what I will say. Every person, from the time they are conceived in the mother's belly to the time of old age, everyone needs nutrition, because food is what sustains us. But it's, like I've said, it's more of individualized. So that means in terms of contraindications, yes, every individual is special. So that is why now you need to sit down with a nutritionist and see and take a proper history, and so that they can actually advise further.
All right, then. Thank you. Someone else is asking, when should we really take the fruits? Should we take it as a dessert or as an appetizer, meaning before or after meals? Same case applies to water. When exactly should we take it?
Okay, let me just start with water. You're supposed to sip water as you're eating. And if let's say, for example, maybe the food is dry, or maybe you cannot avoid water. Like they keep on telling us Kikuyus can't avoid water while they are eating. But the fact is that just sip water while you're eating, but just take water, just drinking water is just 30 minutes after you've eaten. Why? Because your body, the food that you've eaten, it needs a concentrated HCl. So when you take water immediately after eating, that means you dilate the HCl, and that means the digestion and the digestive enzyme, and that means the digestion will be longer. And that means also it's one of the things that actually contributes to, it's called what? Abdominal obesity. So just take water 30 minutes after your meals or 30 minutes before your meals, but not just gulping the whole glass while you're taking your food. The other thing is fruits. Fruits are very good appetizers. I'm not denoting that, but this is what we usually say. And especially for medics, this is just narrowed down to us. Fruits are the best snacks you can actually eat. Fruits and nuts, but not just the whole packet of nuts, but just a handful of nuts. Simply because when you take fruits with your meals, it adds your caloric amount per sitting. So that is why sometimes that's why for us, we usually advise, if you can be able to take fruits between meals, and that is usually either an hour after a meal or 2 hours after a meal, the better. I hope I've answered.
And I think that's fair enough. There are also a couple of questions asking for you to comment on intermittent fasting.
Okay, so
Yeah.
intermittent fasting. I'll go back to my slide and help you make a decision. When you look at my slide, intermittent fasting will fall under a fad diet, sorry to say, simply because it tells you either, number one, to space out your food. That means to skip your meals, and actually it also misses out on a major food group. And that means also the keto diet, the intermittent fasting also fall under this. As I've been doing my research about intermittent fasting over the years, as I've said, there is no proper scientific research that has been done, simply because of ethical issues. Because yes, the intermittent fasting will tell you that you're going to lose weight and you're going to have better sugar control. It's because you're starving yourself. Actually, for me, it's not fasting. It's more of starving yourself from the macronutrients. So for me, I will say, if you can be able to keep them off, because it's one of the things that have contributing to mood issues and also contributing to micronutrient deficiency. So for me, it's usually a no-go zone.
All right,
Michelle?
Yes, thank you. Someone else is asking, how does swimming qualify in terms of burning calories in the time for it, in terms of how long should we swim?
Oh,
to
good.
At least expend calories. Yes.
For swimming, actually, it's one of the exercises we mainly recommend because it uses your whole body holistically. But also, how long you swim, it depends with your speed. If you're doing slow speed, then you can do minimum of 30 minutes. But if you're doing a sprinting, if you're really, really good at swimming, 15 minutes will do. So it also depends with your speed, but it's one of the ways to actually, number one, help you relax. Water has been shown to have therapeutic effects. When you're swimming, there's that calming effect that actually it calms the brain, but also as you're burning the right calories. So for me, I would recommend swimming. If you can be able to swim maybe twice a week or once a week, and the rest of the weeks you're doing other cardio activities, the better. Okay,
then. Someone would want to know, what is your opinion, or do you have any caution? Would you like to caution us on, let's say, broiler chicken meat? And they would also want to find out, what about alternatives of white meat? For example, snake meat, frog meat. What say you about it?
Snake meat, Okay, this is what I would say. The broilers came to fill in the gap or to close the gap for food security. But if you can be able to get the kienyeji ones, the better. Yes, there's a question about GMO. There's a question about the fast growing chicken and all that. Of course, they're using even steroids to do that. But for me, this is what I will say. You cannot be 100% cautious, because even when you go to the green leafy vegetables, they'll still tell you maybe some of them are grown within the sewer line. But this is what he'll tell you. But by the end of the day, it still has protein. But at the end of the day, also, you need to increase your consumption of vegetables, because the fiber is what comes packed with antioxidants. So even if in terms of prevention of cancer, prevention of even NCDs, it comes packed with the fiber. So for me, I'll say, provided you're doing a full diet, better. And for me, if you can be able even to do the plant proteins, the better also. The beans, the lentils, always have them in your diet. You can do chicken twice a week, fish twice a week, but most of the time, do also the plant proteins. When it comes to also to the alternatives of meat, remember, it's either maybe sea creatures. Yeah, there are some people who do snake meat. For me, I think I'll have my reserve. I'll reserve my comments on that. But when it comes to sea creatures, they are still part of the good meat. Why? Because it has also the omega oils. So they're still okay, but they need to be, most of them are from the salty bodies. So in as much as you're eating the sea animals, you find that also your salt intake increases. So you can do them maybe once a week or once every other week, but not something that you can do regularly because of the sodium content. But yes, they are very good in protein. They come packed with protein.
Okay then. How long before going to bed should we have our last meal and drink? And what exactly is so bad about gluten and wheat? As in, all of a sudden we slept and woke up, and now gluten is the we're fighting it only second to corruption. What's going on with gluten? Yeah.
Okay, so let me start with how early should you have your supper? How early? 2 to 3 hours. And the gastro doctors, the gastroenterologist will actually tell you it's 3 hours, simply because of give yourself time for digestion to occur and absorption to occur. And then also you don't have to, because also eating and sleeping immediately is what puts you at risk of also reflux, GERD. And then, so for me, I'll say 2 to 3 hours. And that is why nowadays, when you eat and sleep immediately, you wake up exhausted. And then also you start getting what we call apoti, that abdominal, that peripheral obesity, So, and especially for ladies and also gents nowadays. So that also is what you need to be careful about. And that is why for me, I say you can have a light dinner. You can actually exclude your carbohydrates for dinner. And then that full plate that could have had at dinner, you just wake up in the morning and just warm it up. That is, if you don't have 2 hours, at least 2 to 3 hours, you can just exclude your carbohydrates. And that is not a fad diet. That is basically based on time, because rarely most of us have even less than 1 hour to just sleep and eat. Let me talk about the ketogenic diet as still part of the fad diets. So I'll say it's still a no-go zone. And that the keto diet is actually what is contributing to the high cholesterols that now we are seeing with our patients. And it's also contributing to heart attack and of course ischemic heart disease. Now let's go to gluten. Gluten, barley. We've seen an increase of IBS currently. And one of the things, anytime a client tells you, if I take gluten, I start having bloating and all that, we usually tell them one of the things we do is we start having what we call an elimination diet, whereby we just tell them to eliminate wheat, to eliminate wheat, barley, alcohol, and milk, so that we see whether the symptoms are going to resolve. And actually they resolve within 24 hours. So wheat, it's more of, it's called what? A gluten intolerance. But if you can be able to digest gluten, well and fine. But remember, again, it's what gives you that feel-good hormone. And that's why I'm saying, if you're struggling to lose weight, it's one of the things that you need to consider doing away with. Because also it's addictive, it's high in sugar, and also it makes you feel good when you're eating wheat. Yeah, that's what I can say about it.
Okay, let me see for one more question. Are 2 heavy meals in a day okay? Breakfast and early dinner with no snacking, only water in between.
Good. For me, I'll ask this question. When you're
Yeah.
doing 2 meals in a day, I know by the end of the day, you're looking at the caloric count, but for me as a nutritionist, I'm doing are you meeting your daily recommended amounts of nutrients? Because if you're doing 2 meals a day, of course, most of us, our foods nowadays they're not as packed with nutrients as our soil was 20 years ago, even 10 years ago. So by the end of the day, you're cutting back on carbohydrates, but remember, you're not taking enough nutrients. And that is why for me, I'll sit down with a nutritionist and come up with a meal plan and educate you on more of the portion sizes so that you can still eat the 3 meals a day, but you're still creating a deficit for energy, but not on the micronutrients. That's what I will say.
Okay. Someone is asking, I know you've just told us not to use honey as a substitute for sugar.
Okay.
But in the event that you are, should we substitute like weight for weight, gram for gram, or should we cut down on the honey?
Okay, if you have to use honey, a 1/4 teaspoon is enough. But for me, I will ask you, is it a must for you to do sugar? Because you see, the more you do sugar, the more your tongue adjusts to that sweetness. So in the next 1 year, you'll be doing more sugar. So I think there's a question I've seen is sugar really necessary? By the end of the day, anything that you eat or drink other than water and medication is converted to blood sugar. So it's not a must for you to take sugar. Actually, we usually say if you can be able to avoid added sugar, the better. Even honey, any other sugar in all forms, even the sweets, even the cakes, if you can be able to avoid them, the better. And that is at least 5 days in a week. If you can do a healthy diet 5 days in a week, you're good to go.
Okay. Can you comment on breakfast cereals?
Okay. Breakfast cereals. It's still part of gluten. If you want to avoid the gluten, then the breakfast cereals will fall into that. But the breakfast cereals, they come in so many forms. Like I said, always be careful to read about the nutrition information section. So for me, I'll say choose the high fiber breakfast cereals. For example, I'll choose the Weetabix, I'll choose the oats, I'll choose the quinoa, but quinoa are seeds, but they're more filling actually than anything else, and they're high in protein. So for me, I'll say yes, but don't just take a bowl of cereals with milk and you say you've taken a balanced diet. Add in a vegetable or a fruit and add in an extra protein, and be careful on the amount of breakfast cereals that you're doing. Because 1 cup in the morning, 250 ml is enough as your amount of carbohydrate for that meal for breakfast, not more than that.
Okay. And just as a reminder to our attendees, yes, the webinar is being recorded and it will be posted soon on our KMA YouTube page. So be on the lookout for that. So one more question, let me skim through. Oh yeah, someone is asking about what's so wrong with peanut butter? What's what's up with that?
Okay, we have what we call healthy nuts, and for lack of a better word, unhealthy nuts. We have what we are so used to eating, the ground nuts, the ones that the 10 bob ones, the 20 bob ones. So what they have more of saturated fats than the unsaturated fats. So the healthy nuts are macadamia nuts, the nuts that you don't really have to cook. So when you find that the peanuts fall under the saturated nuts, okay, the nuts that have the saturated oils, and that is why now they have to be roasted and all that. So focus on the oily nut, on the healthy nuts. But remember, this peanut butter is already grounded and you're using it as a bread spread. Unless you want to add weight, then you can use it. Because what happens, you remember, I've just educated you on 1 gram of fat contains 9 kilocalories, double plus 1 of what carbohydrates will give you. So for me, I usually say, if you can be able to eliminate the bread spreads and maybe add in cucumbers or a fruit, the better.
And our last question will be about artificial sweeteners.
Okay.
What is your take on that as we prepare to close?
Okay. Allow me to say there's no zero Coke. Of course, it has sweeteners, and you see these sweeteners are artificially processed, and that is the aspartame, the sorbitols. So what we usually say is that avoid products that have the processed or what we call industrialized sugars. So that is the carbonated drinks and what else? The packets, the juices that come packeted, because they are not even 100% fruits, by the way. Just read the nutrition information, you'll get everything that you need. They have what we call concentrated fruits that now what they do to add the volume, they add water, and also they add now the processed sugar to make it more sweeter so that you can be hooked to that drink. So just do away with them. Avoid added sugars and industrialized sugars. Thank you so much for the session, and thank you for attending.
Yes, thank you very much to all of our 361 attendees as of now. Right on the mark, we are ready to close. And I thank you so much, Josephine, for your time and your willingness to impact this knowledge on us. We do not take it for granted. So at this juncture, I'd like to invite Dr. Edith Koba to give us the closing remarks as we prepare to end the webinar.
Thank you very much to our presenter and moderator. We are truly grateful that we had a nice evening, and I know we have all been reminded how to take care of our diet. Very, very important. It's part of self-care, and you can't be mentally well if you are bothered by your weight or you're bothered by other diseases that result from poor dieting. So we truly appreciate, and we continue to wish all of us well as we continue to meet every Tuesday, and to remind us that our mental wellness is our business, and we want to keep ensuring that we are taking care of it in all angles. Please don't forget to join us next week for another hopefully interesting meeting. But most importantly, in between, remember that you need to do everything that you can to make sure that you're mentally healthy. And if you have a challenge, please seek professional help. Thank you very much. And remember, there's a call center. You can reach out, and I don't know whether that number can be shared. You can reach out for help, and we are happy to support you. It's okay not to be okay. Help is available. Thank you. Bye-bye. Good evening.
All right, good night, guys. See you next time. Tuesday, same place, same time.